Tonight you will need every attention muscle that you have in you.
All right.
This means that we have an extensive amount of reading to do, and there's a reason for it, obviously. But what's going to happen, we're going to do something different tonight. And not everybody has to. If you want to, you can. If not, just when it comes to your turn,
Going around
skip
the room.
over. We're going to go around the room. That's right. We're going to start, as you know, with Wisdom for Living. We have been adding these little books. There's little books in the Bible that we've been reading through because it relates to the message that's being delivered. Turn with me to Habakkuk. The prophet Habakkuk is a rather obscure figure, but his book is one of the gems of the Old Testament. It seems to have been written shortly before the Battle of Carchemish in 605 BC, and when the Babylonians became the undisputed power in the area. Habakkuk's problem with theodicy, or divine justice, internally he saw violence, law-breaking, and injustice go unpunished, and so he questioned God about it. God's answer only troubled him more, so he raised the question of God's justice once again. God reassured Habakkuk by telling him that if he could only wait, it would all be clear to him. God reassured Habakkuk that if he'd wait, it will all come to him and be clear. This satisfied Habakkuk, and with renewed faith, he seemed to conclude that given God's holiness, his own questions were unjustified. Chapter 3 is a prayer psalm which ends with another strong statement of faith. For a book of such small size, Habakkuk has wielded remarkable influence. The Habakkuk commentary is the most well-preserved Old Testament contemporary of those found among the Dead Sea Scrolls and reflects a type of Old Testament exegesis which helps us understand better much of the New Testament use of the Old Testament. More significantly, Habakkuk 2:4 was used by Paul in Romans 1:17 to introduce the principle of justification by faith rather than by works. And it was Martin Luther's interpretation of this verse which totally oriented his thinking and contributed to the beginning of the Protestant Reformation. Habakkuk chapter 1. If there's anything in here that grabs you, just stop and just say, hold on 1 second, because that means that was for you. The oracle which Habakkuk the prophet saw. How long, O Lord, would I call for help, and thou wilt not hear? I cry out to thee, violence, yet thou dost not save.
Why do you show me iniquity and cause me to seek trouble? For plundering and violence are before me. There is strife and contention for writers.
Yeah.
Is it one verse at a time?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Therefore the law is slight, and the judgment doth never go forth for the wicked doth. Compass about the righteous, therefore wrong judgment proceedeth.
Look at the nations and watch, and be utterly amazed, for I am going to do something in your days that you would not believe, even if you were told.
Stop. One more time.
Look at the nations and watch, and be utterly amazed.
And watch. What does that require you to do?
Open our eyes.
That's it. And, what does it say?
For I am going to do something in your days that you would not believe, even if you were told.
Next.
Where am I at?
6.
I'm rising up. The
Chaldeans.
Chaldeans to be a new power on the world scene. I think. The world and what's that word? C-O-N,
Compasses or something?
compassing it. That's it. Is that all I'm supposed to read, or?
Is that through the whole verse going to 7?
Yeah.
Yep.
Mine's a different version, so.
Okay. 7.
They are a feared and dreadful people, they are a law to themselves, and full of their own heart.
Their horses are swifter than leopards, and keener than wolves in the evening. Their horsemen come galloping, their horsemen come from afar. They fly like an eagle, swooping down to devour.
They shall come all for violence, their faces shall suck up as the east wind, and they shall gather the captivity up as the sand.
Wait, Pam, you said eagle?
Yeah, mine says eagle.
Mine says
Mine said vulture.
Mine is too.
Let's see.
I'd say there's a bit of a difference between a vulture and an eagle.
That's why, that's why I had to stop.
Which verse is mine again?
Mine is a New International Version, and it says vulture.
Mine says eagle.
Mine says eagle. They fly like an eagle, swooping down to devour. They
Yeah,
fly like a vulture.
eagles, the only thing,
Really?
there isn't many things that eagles devour.
No.
A vulture devours.
They
Again,
fly like a,
Mine says eagle.
Mine doesn't say.
Mine says
devour,
they
it
fly like a
says
vulture swooping to devour.
there you go.
Mine says eagle that hastes to eat.
Yeah, mine says to eat.
Okay. They mock at kings and rulers, are a laughing matter to them. They laugh at every fortress and heap up rubble to capture it.
They scoff at kings and princes are scorned by them. They deride every stronghold, for they heap up earthen mounds and seize it.
Okay, are we on 11?
Now,
Man, right?
go ahead. It's fine.
Okay. So I'm doing 11.
Mhm.
Okay. Then shall his mind change, and he shall pass over and offend, in putting this is his power unto his God. Little g.
Mhm.
O Lord, are ye not from everlasting? My God, my Holy One, we will not die. O Lord, you have appointed them to execute judgment. O Rock, you have ordained them to punish.
You are P-E,
Pure.
pure, just in this, but will you who cannot allow sin in you be sent while the wicked what's that word,
Devour.
devour people who are more righteousness in they.
You have made men like fish in the sea, like sea creatures that have no ruler.
The Chaldeans bring all of them up with a hook, drag them away with their net, and gather them together in their fishing net. Therefore they are rejoicing and are glad.
Therefore they sacrifice unto their net, and burn incense unto their drag, because by them their portion is fat, and their meat plenteous.
Will they therefore empty their net and continually slay nations without sparing?
I will stand my watch and set myself on the rampart and watch to see what he will say to me and what I will answer when I am ready.
And the Lord answered me and said, write the vision and make it plain upon tables that he may run that readeth it.
For the revelation awaits an appointed time. It speaks of the end and will not prove false. Though it linger, wait for it, it will certainly come and will not delay.
Of these things I plan won't happen right away. Slowly, suddenly, right? Is that right? S-T, is that right, Steph?
I'm not sure what translation you're
verse
reading
are-
out of, so it's hard.
I'm sorry, which verse, Keith? 4?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's on 4.
Is
I
it
don't know.
soul? Soul?
It might be, I don't know,
How do
but
you, what are the letters?
S, starts with S.
S-O-U-L?
Yeah.
Yep, soul. No worries.
Suddenly the time appears when, for it will be suddenly taken place. It will not be delivered free.
Indeed, wine betrays him. He is arrogant and never at rest, because he is as greedy as the grave, and like death is never satisfied. He gathers to himself all the nations and takes captive all the people.
Will not all these take up a taunt song against him, even mockery and insinuations against him, and say, woe to him who increases what is not his? For how long, and makes himself rich with loans.
Will not your creditors, oh, I'm sorry, what am I? Sorry, go ahead.
Verse 7,
Yep.
shall they not rise up suddenly that shall bite thee, and await thee, that shall vex thee, and thou shalt be for booties unto them.
Because you have looted many nations, all the remainder of the peoples will loot you, because of human bloodshed and violence done to the land, to the town and all its inhabitants.
Woe to him who covets evil gain for his house, that he may set his nest on high, then he may be delivered from the power of disaster.
Thou hast consulted shame to thy house by cutting off many people, and hast sinned against thy soul.
The stones of the wall will cry out, and the beams of the woodwork will echo it.
11, right?
12.
12.
12, I'm sorry. How troubling it will be for you who build cities with money gathered by murder and compulsion, I guess that's what.
How do you spell it?
CONRUPIOTION.
Corruption.
Corruption, okay, sorry.
It's okay.
Has not the Lord Almighty determined that the people's labor is only fuel for the fire, that the nations exhaust themselves for nothing?
For the earth will be filled with the knowledge of the glory of the Lord, as the waters cover the sea.
Woe unto him that giveth his neighbor drink, that putteth thy bottle to him, and maketh him drunken also, that thou mayest look on their nakedness.
You will be filled with disgrace rather than honor. Now you yourself drink and expose your own nakedness. The cup in the Lord's right hand will come around you, and utter disgrace will come upon your glory.
For the violence done to Lebanon will cover you, and the plunder of beasts which made them afraid, because of men's blood and the violence of the land and the city, and of all who dwell in it.
What profit the graven image that the maker therefore hath graven it, the molten image and a teacher of lies, that the maker of his work trusteth therein to make dumb idols.
Woe to him who says to wood, come to life, or to lifeless stone, wake up. Can it give guidance? Is it covered with gold and silver? There is no breath in it.
Now what verse am I?
20.
20.
But the Lord is in the holy temple. Let all the earth be
Silent.
before him.
Here comes the prayer.
This is the prayer, was silent by the prophet Hebrews. That's what that is, right? Hebrews? H-A-B?
Habakkuk?
Habakkuk,
Okay.
according to Shiganoff. That's a pretty long one.
Right.
Go ahead, Carol.
Lord, I have heard of your fame. I stand in awe of your deeds, O Lord. Renew them in our day, in our time, make them known. In wrath, remember mercy.
splendor covers the heavens, and the earth is full of his praise.
And his brightness was as the light. He had horns coming out of his hand, and there was the hiding of his power.
Before him goes pestilence, and plague comes after him.
He stood and measured the earth. He looked and startled the nations. And the everlasting mountains were scattered. The perpetual hills bowed. His ways were everlasting. I saw the tents of Cushan in affliction. The curtains of the land of Midian trembled.
Was the door,
So I still keep going?
No.
All right.
was the Lord displeased against the rivers? Was thy anger against the rivers? Was thy wrath against the sea? That thou did ride upon thine horse and the chariots of salvation.
You uncovered your bow, you called for many arrows, you split the earth with rivers.
Verse 10.
The mountains which the temple.
Wait.
Is that right?
Did it tremble?
Trembled, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Onward.
Is it overflow?
SWEPT.
Swept.
Swept the rapids waters, the mighty deep city out.
Lifted?
Lifted its hand onto the Lord.
Sun and moon stood still in the heavens at the glint of your flying arrows, at the lightning of your flashing spear.
In indignation thou didst march through the earth, in anger thou didst trample the nations.
Thou wentest forth for the salvation of thy people, even for salvation with thine anointed. Thou woundest the head out of the house of the wicked by discovering the foundation unto the neck. Selah.
Thou didst pierce with his own spears the head of his throngs. They stormed in to scatter us. Their exultation was like those who devour the oppressed in secret.
You walk through the sea with your horses, through the deep and great waters.
When I heard, my belly trembled, my lips quivered at the voice. Rottenness entered into my bones, and I trembled in myself, that I might rest in the day of trouble. When he cometh up unto the people, he will invade them with his troops.
Though the fig tree does not bud, and there are no grapes on the vines, though the olive crop fails, and the fields produce no food, though there are no sheep in the pen, and no cattle in the stalls.
Verse
Yea,
18.
yea, I will rejoice in the Lord. I will be joyful in the God of my Savior.
The sovereign Lord is my strength. He makes my feet like the feet of a deer. He enables me to go on the heights. For the director of music on my string instruments.
Check it out. This is totally cool. So Habakkuk wonders why all the evil is not being punished. And God says, am I not the one who created it all? And he said, you're right. I trust you. You are the Lord of my salvation. I probably could have said that and we could have moved on. But what you need to understand and why this book is so key, it's just a small example of how a prophet called by God, just because someone's called a prophet, they put their pants on the same way we do. They fail just like we do. They're no different. It's just in that time period, God chose to use them just like He uses us to influence someone else. And in time of trouble, the example here is when you say, Lord, I don't understand. He shows you. And then you rejoice. Okay? That is wisdom for living. Right there. That's a perfect example, Habakkuk, of someone who trusted the Lord. And he couldn't understand. He didn't have all the facts. God is the only one who has all the facts. He knows what's going to happen 3 weeks from now. He knows. Trust me, he will have a band of angels here on New Year's Eve. I guarantee you, guarding the front. Because if it was up to the enemy, he'd close the doors. But he can't do anything in God unless God allows it. Turn with me to Ecclesiastes, please. Which is after Proverbs. Verse 12.
I'm sorry, what chapter?
Chapter 12, I mean.
Chapter 12?
Remember also your Creator in the days of your youth. Before the evil days come and the years draw near, when you will say, I have no delight in them. Before the sun, the light, the moon, and the stars are darkened, and clouds return after the rain, in the day that the watchmen in the house tremble and mighty men stoop. The grinding ones stand idle because they're few, and those who look through windows grow dim, and the doors on the street are shut at the sound of the grinding mill is low, and one will arise at the sound of the bird, and all the daughters of the song will sing softly. Furthermore, men are afraid of a high place, and of terrors on the road. The almond tree blossoms, the grasshopper drags himself along, and the caperberry is ineffective, for man goes into his eternal home, while mourners go about in the street. Remember him before the silver cord is broken, and the golden bowl is crushed. The pitcher by the well is shattered, and the wheel at the cistern is crushed. When the dust will return to the earth as it was, and the spirit will return to God who gave it. Vanity of vanities, said the preacher. All is vanity. In addition to being a wise man, the preacher also taught the people knowledge. Stop. Wisdom for living. Remember that. And he pondered, searched out, and arranged many proverbs. The preacher sought to find delightful words and to write words of truth correctly. The words of wise men are like goads, and masters of these collections are like well-driven nails. They're given by one shepherd. But beyond this, my son, be warned. The writing of many books is endless, and excessive devotion to books is wearying to the body. The conclusion, when all has been heard, is fear God and keep his commandments, because this applies only to those who wear white on Labor Day. Because this applies only to the Pentecostal denomination, to the Baptist, to the Church of Christ. No, to every person. You can apply this wisdom. Every one of us can. For God will bring every act to judgment, everything which is hidden, whether if it is good or evil. Let's go to Proverbs 26. Proverbs 26. Like snow in summer and like rain in harvest, so honor is not fitting for a fool. Like a sparrow in its flitting, like a swallow in its flying. Flitting, F-L-I-T-T-I-N-G. So a curse without cause does not alight. A whip is for the horse, a bridle is for the donkey, and a rod for the back of fools. Do not answer a fool according to his folly, lest you also be like him. Answer a fool as his folly deserves, lest he be wise in his own eyes. He cuts off his own feet and drinks violence. Who sends a message by the hand of a fool? Like the legs which hang down from the lame, so is a proverb in the mouth of a fool. Like one who binds a stone in a sling, so he who gives honor to a fool. Like a thorn which falls into the hand of a drunkard, so is a proverb in the mouth of the fools. Like an archer who wounds everyone, so is he who hires a fool, or who hires those who pass by. Like a dog that returns to its vomit is a fool who repeats his folly. Do you see a man wise in his own eyes? There's more hope for a fool than for him. The sluggard says, there is a lion in the road. A lion is in the open square. As the door turns on its hinges, so does the sluggard on his bed. The sluggard buries his hand in the dish, and he is weary of bringing it to his mouth again. The sluggard is wiser in his own eyes than 7 men who can give a discreet answer. Like one who takes a dog by the ears is he who passes by and meddles with strife, not belonging to him. Like a madman who throws firebrands, arrows, and death, so is the man who deceives his neighbor and says, "Was I not joking?" For lack of wood, the fire goes out, and where there is no whisperer, contention quiets down. Ooh. Like charcoal to hot embers and wood to the fire, so is a contentious man to kindle strife. The words of a whisperer are like dainty morsels, and they go down into the innermost parts of the body. Like an earthen vessel overlaid with silver dross are burning lips and a wicked heart. He who hates disguises is with his lips, but he lays up deceit in his heart. When he spoke graciously, do not believe him, for there are 7 abominations in the heart. Though this hatred covers itself with guile, his wickedness will be revealed before the assembly. He who digs a pit will fall into it, and he who rolls a stone, it shall come back on him. A lying tongue hates those it crushes, and a flattering mouth works ruin. Here we go. 27 is loaded. Do not boast about tomorrow, for you do not know what a day may bring forth. Whew. Let another praise you, and not your own mouth. But while we were standing out there, there was people throwing candy, and this lady said, "Hey, preacher!" and threw the candy. And I said, "How do you know I'm a preacher?" She said, "I work at Dollar General over here." I said,
Oh, really?
Okay. Let someone else say about you versus you having to say. It comes out much smoother. And a stranger, and not your own lips. A stone is heavy and the sand weighty, but the provocation of a fool is heavier than both of them. Wrath is fierce and anger is a flood, but who can stand before jealousy? Better is open rebuke than love that is concealed. Faithful are the words of a friend, but deceit are the kisses of an enemy. A sated man loathes honey, but to a famished man any bitter thing is sweet. Another way to say that is one man's trash is another man's treasure. Like a bird that wanders from her nest, so is a man who wanders from his home. Oil and perfume make the heart glad, so a man's counsel is sweet to his friend. Do not forsake your own friend or your father's friend. Do not go into your brother's house in the day of your calamity. Better is a neighbor who is near than a brother far away. Be wise, my son, and make my heart glad, that I may reply to him who reproaches me. A prudent man sees evil and hides himself. The naive proceed and pay the penalty. Take his garment when he becomes surety for a stranger, and for an adulterous woman, hold him in pledge. He who blesses his friend with a loud voice early in the morning, it will be reckoned a curse to him. A constant dripping on a day of steady rain, and a conscientious woman are alike. A constant dripping all day. Drip, 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 drip is like a contentious woman. Drip, drip, shoot.
Now what verse are we at?
Oh, 15. He who would restrain her restrains the wind, and grasps oil with his right hand. Iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another. He who tends the fig tree will eat its fruit. He who cares for his master will be honored. As in water, face reflects face, so the heart of a man reflects man. Ooh, that's good. As in water, face reflects face, so the heart of man reflects man. Sheol and Abaddon are never satisfied, nor are the eyes of a man ever satisfied. The crucible is for silver, and the furnace for gold, and a man is tested by the praise according to him. Though you pound a fool in a mortar with a pestle, along with crushed grain, yet his folly will not depart from him. Know well the condition of your flocks, and pay attention to your herds, for riches are not forever, nor does a crown endure all generations. When the grass disappears, new growth is seen, and the herbs of the mountains are gathered in. Herbs.
You said, "Ooh."
And the herbs of the mountains are gathered in. The lambs will be for your clothing, and the goats will bring the price of a field. And there will be goat's milk enough for your food, for the food of your household, and sustenance for your maidens. We're going to go to 28. The wicked flee when no one is pursuing, but the righteous are bold as a lion. By the transgression of a land, many are its princes, but by a man of understanding and knowledge, so it endures. A poor man who impresses the lowly is like a driving rain which leaves no food. Those who forsake the law praise the wicked, but those who keep the law strive with them. Evil men do not understand justice, but those who seek the Lord understand all things. Better is the poor who walks in his integrity than he who is crooked through he be rich. He who keeps the law is a discerning son, but he who is a companion of gluttons humiliates his father. He who increases his wealth by interest and usury gathers it for him who is gracious to the poor. He who turns away his ear from listening to the law, even his prayer is an abomination. He who leads the upright astray in an evil way will himself fall into his own pit, but the blameless will inherit good. The rich man is wise in his own eyes, but the poor who is understanding sees through him. When the righteous triumph, there is a great glory, but when the wicked rise, men hide themselves. He who conceals his transgression will not prosper, but he who confesses and forsakes them will find compassion. How blessed is the man who fears always, but he who hardens his heart will fall into calamity. Like a roaring lion and a rushing bear is a wicked ruler over a poor people. A leader who is a great oppressor lacks understanding, but he who hates unjust gain will prolong his days. A man who is laden with the guilt of human blood will be a fugitive until death. Let no one support him. He who walks blamelessly will be delivered, but he who is crooked will fall all at once. He who tills his land will have plenty of food, but he who follows empty pursuits will have poverty and plenty. A faithful man will abound with blessings, but he who makes haste to be rich will not go unpunished. To show partiality is not good, because for a piece of bread a man will transgress. A man with an evil eye will hasten after wealth, and does not know that want will come upon him. He who rebukes a man will afterward find more favor than he who flatters with the tongue. He who robs his father or his mother and says, "It's not a transgression," is the companion of a man who destroys. An arrogant man stirs up strife, but he who trusts in the Lord will prosper. He who trusts in his own heart is a fool, but he who walks wisely will be delivered. He who gives to the poor will never want, but he who shuts his eyes will have many curses. When the wicked rise, men hide themselves, but when they perish, the righteous increase. 29, 30,
31.
New Year's Eve.
You're gonna do New Year's Eve?
No, I'm going to take a break on New Year's Eve.
No.
There's so much in there. And again, what's fascinating is that as we go through this year and we look back, has anybody been marking in their Bible like all the stuff that we've learned? Have you like highlighted all of it?
Yeah.
You ready? Watch this. It's kind of like a cartoon. Okay?
Right? I mean, I like it. Different Bibles though. Mine's been highlighted in different Bibles.
what it's about. It's about walking the road.
In the narrow way.
By next year, my goal by next year is to have this entire Bible read to you. By next year. That's the goal. I have the ability to go into the documents that I've created, and I can tell you how many scriptures we covered. And there are many books we haven't even touched yet. But I know God is pressing us through a very fast pace of, because just because you listen, I don't know, how many times have you read Genesis? Many times. But it's never been more clear than this year because of all that God has done. So I'm not racing through to race us through. But if we're building a puzzle and I can lay pieces specifically, because He's giving things to me strategically for you, so that as you go, there's going to come a time that you're going to come back to many of these scriptures, whether it's on your own or through another teacher or whatever it is. And the goal is to recognize the advancement. Kind of like, like how, well, I don't know if you did this when you grew up or not, but what is that?
I guess it's a boy.
You remember when you were little
Stick figure?
and you stood up against your wall and your parents marked and put, 4'8"
Oh, yeah. One day.
at 11, you were 11 or whatever, that probably is Carol. You were probably 4'8" at 11. But anyway, and then as you got older, you begin to make more marks, right? Well, your pastor at 17 was 16, was 5'6". And then one summer, I went to 6'1".
Really?
Within one summer, my knees were just about to explode. I was absolutely miserable. I had the worst growing, I cried, it was terrible. It was really rough. So know that this growing pain that I went through, you're going through now. He's giving you far advanced of what you probably ever, and again, this isn't about me, this is about God and the work that He's doing. So never misunderstand this. But I have heard out of many mouths that I've learned more in such a short period of time than I learned in my entire life. Because of the way God is causing me to communicate for you. I too, because I can outpour that, I can deliver that, my learning over the last 4 years has been so advanced and so hard on me, because nothing would satisfy me more than to know this from front to back. Because the more I know it, the more He can use me to influence your life. The more that I can use examples from here to give to you so that you can have it for the rest of your life. And there will come a point in time that this Bible right here will end up in someone else's hands. Hope they can read bad writing. I think they'll need an interpreter just for that. But this continues on, even though we don't. And what we do with this information that He gives us is absolutely critical to our spiritual life and to what we're doing. Father God, we thank You so much for all that You do. We thank You for Your faithfulness and for Your love and for Your word tonight. Thank You for using Habakkuk to communicate how life's experiences cause one to ponder solutions. And as we've learned this morning, that many solutions that we have come down to our love for one another. And so I pray that You strengthen my brothers and sisters in Christ. Thank You so much for bringing us here tonight and for this day, that You've given us a wonderful spirit and truth worship. And just ask that as we go through tomorrow and the rest of this week, that we'll prepare our hearts for the continuing on of Genesis. So look forward to what you have planned in Genesis. We're going to be there for quite a long time. And I am just so thankful and grateful that you've given us all this teaching, that we can apply it and we can learn from our mistakes and we can grow in your grace. And just give us journey mercies as we make our way home tonight, and give us well-rested rest tonight, that when we wake up tomorrow morning, which will be a brand new day that you've made, that we can rejoice and have a superabundance of happiness, knowing that we serve the only living God of this universe, that we are children of the Most High. I thank you so much for these friends, for these new family members, and for all the time that we have together. And we love you so much, and we ask these things in Christ's name. Amina.